Oh, hello, this is Tak Chung from Walk with Tak. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and share. One question people often ask me is that how much oil should you use in stir frying? And part of the answer to this question is that what is the purpose of oil in stir frying? And now there has been a lot of talk out there about how to stir fry with no oil at all. And what will happen if you don't use any oil in stir frying at all? And how will the food taste? Will it taste any better or worse? In today's video, I would like to address first is the impact of oil in stir frying, and secondly, how the variation in the amount of oil will affect the taste of the dish. The role of oil in cooking or in frying really comes down to one thing, that is the temperature that is able to generate it for the food during its cooking. This temperature is important because a single chemical reaction known as the Maillard reaction. A Maillard reaction is a chemical reaction that happens to food and frequently called it browning. This is most noticeable when you bake bread in the oven. The surface of the bread will turn brown. This takes place due to this chemical reaction, which alters the chemical molecule on the surface of the food. In addition to cause the food to turn brown, most importantly is that it creates flavor molecules. And for the Maillard reaction to occur, the temperature has to be between 250 degrees to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. And the reason we cook with oil, because when you cook with oil, you can reach this temperature range. This is what happens when you bake, when you grill, and when you fry. And this is the reason we love fried chicken and French fries in comparison to boiling or steaming your food, because in those cooking process, the temperature was never able to reach this Maillard reaction temperature. And in actuality, stir frying is no different from regular frying. For example, in the frying of chicken, you heat up the oil temperature to 350 degrees Fahrenheit and you put the chicken directly into the oil. However, in the case of stir frying, you take advantage of the shape of the wok. Usually the flat surface of a wok is anywhere between 5 to 8 inches, and they resemble a small frying pan. So all you have to do is just put enough oil to cover the surface of the wok. So the purpose of stir frying is that you stir ingredients to coat them with oil, and you constantly cycle them through the center of the wok, where is the location of the source of the heat. So this is in effect allow you to fry your food with a small amount of oil. And by stirring the content regularly and quickly, you can fry a large amount of food in a small amount of oil. So in a nutshell, this is the basic principle of stir frying, and also the amount of oil should be used during the stir frying process, which is not to coat the food ingredients so that when you cook, all the food ingredients able to reach the Maillard temperature range. The oil will prevent the surface of the food ingredients get too hot, and hence prevent them from getting burned. And when you look at it from this perspective, the answer to the question of how much oil you should use in stir frying becomes very simple and straightforward. You will want to use enough cooking oil that allow you to coat the surface of the food ingredients, both for the purpose of reaching the Maillard reaction temperature range, as well as when cooking move along to prevent the food from burning. So this provides a clear reason that you should use sufficient oil during stir frying. So what about when you are using too much oil? What is the disadvantage of having an excess of amount of oil during stir frying? The main disadvantage of using too much oil is that oil is high in calories. Oil is a calorie-dense macronutrient, and there are 3 macronutrients carbohydrate, protein, and fat. A fat is a general term for oil that come from animals as well as vegetables. All fats are the same. They contain 9 kilocalories per gram, whether it is animal fat or vegetable oil. This makes them contain more than twice the calories that you will find in carbohydrates and proteins. Both of them contain 4 kilocalories per gram. So in order to reduce calorie consumption, you should use as little oil as possible. However, there's going to be a balance between whether you have enough oil or you have too little oil to create the flavor that you want in your stir-frying dish. And when you don't have enough oil, the dish would taste actually like it just has been steamed. Here is a dish that I cooked recently that I use minimum amount of oil, and I will show you what the difference between this dish and another dish that I use sufficient amount of oil. This is a vegetable medley dish that contains eggplant, Brussels sprout, a bitter melon, okra, and mushroom. I start to cook this dish with only 1 tablespoon of canola oil. This amount of oil is barely enough to coat the surface of the vegetable. As you can see, if you look at the bottom of the wok, there are hardly any oil at all. And when you don't have enough oil in the wok, the bottom surface of the wok gets very hot. And this is more likely for the food ingredients to become burned. I then add some mushroom to the wok. A mushroom has a voracious appetite for oil. So the mushroom actually will absorb some of the oil of the food ingredients that were already there. And the final ingredients I'm going to add is some okra. And now, due to the lack of oil, the temperature of the wok getting higher and higher, and the food ingredient start to get burned, even I stir the content rapidly. So there's 2 ways to control the temperature of the wok. One, of course, is to turn down the heat. And the second is to add water to the wok. I'm going to add a small amount of water at a time to reduce the temperature of the wok. However, this will still keep the temperature of the wok high enough within the Maillard temperature range. Now, this technique is frequently known as water-based stir-frying. So what I'm doing now is try to navigate between stir-frying at a temperature that is high enough of the Maillard reaction, but by adding small amount of water to prevent the temperature getting too high and therefore burn the food ingredients. As you can see, the water never accumulates at the bottom of the wok. It is either immediately evaporated or being absorbed by the food ingredients. So this turned out to be one way to control the temperature of the wok, at the same time able to use the least amount of cooking oil. So I continue to do this for another minute or so until I feel that the food ingredients has reached the texture that I desired. So in summary, this technique basically, by starting out with some cooking oil in a very small amount, just enough to coat the food ingredients, you will still be able to get the Maillard reaction going. And then you add water to control the temperature. Because of the presence of the water, the final step of the cooking is somewhere between a cross between frying and steaming. However, the food would taste different. As my wife noticed the difference, she said the food just doesn't taste quite right. It tastes more like steamed food. And this is certainly quite different with this dish that I cook completely with oil, with only addition a small amount of water at the end. So I hope this video helped you to get an appreciation of how much oil you should use in your stir frying. And with my fast cooking system of flavor chasing, advanced prepping, stir frying, and template based cooking, it will allow you to make modifications and adjustment how you cook to generate many different types of dishes once you have mastered the basics. I post a video every day to discuss my fast cooking system based on what I cook for dinner each night in my kitchen. If you'd like to learn more, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Thank you for joining me. I will see you tomorrow.